Hey, it's Beef, back with my world building project. Today I want to talk about naming and my opinions on the importance of names and when you should start thinking about them for your project. Many people think that they need all their characters' names or creature names or whatever for their project before they even start working on it, but I really think that starts to hold people back. A name really should not hinder your creation process. If you don't know the name for something, just put like a placeholder or just the word placeholder there. You can always come back and change it. It's easy to come back and do that when you have a name. But I am going to be creating names, and the reason I'm doing that is simply just for videos. If I keep using the placeholder names that I was using, such as like Frost Giant or Earth Elf, everyone's gonna associate those words with these creatures, and it's just not gonna work when I try to name them. So I'm gonna start doing that. But since this is an ongoing project, the names might change. That's okay. I want this kind of to evolve and expand as I create this world more naturally. So I'm gonna share this process that I use to get around the struggle I have, because I've always struggled with it, partially because I am dyslexic, but other people also struggle with this. I start by reminding myself the purpose of names and why we use them in fiction in the way we do. They're meant to give people an initial impression of what to expect, like giving a strong name to a strong character or an elegant name to an elegant character, so people kind of get an idea of what the character is all about just from the name. But you can use that to subvert expectations as well, like giving a strong name to a feeble character. The basic point being that the name of something should relate to the character in some way, but it's way harder to do that than it is to just say that. Mostly because naming is subjective, and what you get from that name is subjective and based off of your personal experiences. The process I use when I come up with a name is starting by finding a word or name that I already associate with what I want to represent. For example, here I have giants, and I start with Jotun, the Old Norse for giant. These aren't Old Norse or even based off of the Old Norse giants, but I can still use that word as a basis to start off with, because people will hear something that sounds similar and subconsciously associate it with that. The first thing I do to start changing that around is just switching words in the word around. So I'll take one part of the word and put it somewhere else, or vice versa, or just take a completely new letter and plug it in where an old letter used to be. For example, here I plugged in an R where the N used to be. And you can get pretty far with that, but I find supplementing it with other methods is extremely helpful. So I'll take multiple words. Like here I took Yeti and Fjör, the word for frost in Old Norse. I don't know why, that's kind of an Old Norse kick that day. And I would bash them together. I'll start just shoving them together, seeing what happens, and eventually try to come up with something I like and find the parts of the words that I like. In this case, what I liked was the Y at the beginning of Yeti, the T at the end of Yeti, the R sound in frost, T that appeared in most of the words, and I wanted to find a combination that worked with that. And after playing around and plugging some stuff in, I ended up with Tirti, which I think works pretty well for a druidic giant race. Tirti. I thought it sounded nice, a little bit, fantastical. So I think I'm gonna stick with that for now. And it's a very simple process that I use to try to come up with these names. I was going to do it live, but I messed up the recording. I did the same thing here later on using dirt, earth, ground, and terre, terre being the French word for earth, and started doing the same process, switching stuff around, adding in new letters and bashing them together. And I knew I wanted all of the L's names to end in IA because I already had the high L's as Ampia. And I wanted it to be a consistent thing with L's to kind of show they are related in some way. And I ended up with the Daria. I think works for these like dirt, earth L's that I have. And now I have a name for every single creature in this world so far. There will be more creatures later on. But now that I've gone over the process, I wanted to know what everyone thinks of the names I came up with, how anyone else comes up with names, or names that they thought of while I was doing this for these creatures. That would be very helpful. In the future, I want to maybe do something more like this, where I explore one culture at a time and flesh them out in a series, and then move on to the next culture. And we could always come back and return to the old one, but while I'll be doing that, over it would be a time lapse of me drawing something from that culture, or multiple drawings, because I am much more of a drawer than a writer. And so I thought that might work best, but let me know. And thank you again for watching.